Alright, so let's look back. On the 31st of July 2009, this thing, the Game Boy, will be 20 years old. Okay, but a lot of you younger gamers are thinking, okay, what the hell? Who cares? It's old, it looks like a brick, it could kill someone if you throw it hard enough. I'm pretty sure it did. Only 2 buttons, the screen is like green and white, what the hell? But you've got to understand, if it wasn't for this, we wouldn't have had the iPhone, wouldn't have had the PSP, and we definitely would not have had the DS. Okay, this thing, even though it looks old and grey and really bad, was what started all of this. Okay, so it was the late 80s, and Nintendo was really popular with the NES, but it wanted to make something that people could take on the go. So brought out the Game Boy. But what made it really sell was Tetris, because Tetris wasn't just something like Mario, where the hardcore gamers, kids played it. Tetris was played by everyone, adults, older people. Because of Tetris, everyone started playing Game Boy. It's as simple as that. So that's what made the Game Boy really popular, and it kept on being really popular throughout the 80s and the 90s. But then, as the PlayStation started to come along, and disc-based games with better music and better graphics, it started to make the Game Boy look bad, because by 96 it was still being produced, it was still black and white and grey, so Nintendo needed to make a new way of selling it, and they did with this. This was crack for kids, okay? This was drugs. Every single kid from the 90s and the early 2000s played this. If they haven't played it, why have they not played it? This was drugs. I was one of these kids. I played Pokemon everywhere. On the bus, in school, while eating lunch, outside, in the toilet, everywhere. Everywhere I played them, because it seems really simple, but there's so much you can do. You trade with your friends, you collect them, you name them, you breed them, and everything. So this was like crack. And then, so that got the Game Boy selling again. And then in '98, the Nintendo introduced the color, which was color. So there wasn't a lot of difference. I mean, it was a lot thinner. It only used 2 batteries. It was a bit more sleek, I guess. The buttons were all the same, the screen size was the same, it was just in colour. So you can play all the Game Boy games on it. So that wasn't too much of a progression until the Game Boy Advance came along. And that was a bit better. That was 32-bit, more colours, so that was really popular. But looking back at it now, the Game Boy started everything. The Game Boy is handheld gaming, and one of the genius things about it is just how simple it is. It didn't have weird knobs and extra buttons here and dials and switches. It just had D-pad, start, select, A and B. And Nintendo, pretty much, they've stuck to that kind of thing throughout all these years with the DS. There's a bit more, but D-pad, start, select, A and B. They go X and Y and touchscreen and the pads here, but it's pretty much the same thing. So congratulations, Game Boy. It's good to have you.